Hey, Chris here with Cohesive Friendship Unit. Just me today. Thought we would have another Starfield video. We actually had a Starfield video about a month ago talking about how we're maybe a little concerned with how things might be coming, considering Fallout 76 and considering that they've made certain statements like we're going to use the same engine. So we're a little concerned, but I thought we would change gears, be maybe a little bit more positive, provide some good, suggestive, constructive feedback for what Starfield really needs to set itself apart. This is not Skyrim times. This is not even Fallout times, where Bethesda was the open world developer, making the open world games that were genre defining. At this point, Bethesda has really fallen behind in some ways, and they need to distinguish themselves from the competition. They need to take what they do best while adding essentials that has evolved the genre this generation. But real quick, before we get started, we are doing a giveaway. All you have to do is subscribe. Every 10 subscriptions, so almost all the time, we give away a Steam code. You can check out our channel page to learn more about that. But again, all you have to do is hit that subscribe button if you want to be entered. All right, let's get going. First thing they really need to do is polish movement. This is something that Bethesda has gotten better with, like from game to game. Everybody really criticized, especially third-person movement in like Oblivion, where it kind of looks like you were just ice skating in Fallout 3. They need to really get the movement tuned in. A lot of games now have kind of like auto, not necessarily vaulting, but like if you jump near a ledge, you'll automatically like vault yourself up. They just need to refine the movement. It's not bad, but it's something that is a little stiff now. The next thing they really need to do is modernize shooting or fall back on VATS. In Fallout 4, a lot of people kind of give it flack for being a decent shooter but a poor RPG, as opposed to a poor RPG and maybe not the best shooter, but they don't have, well, presumably they will not be using VATS in this game because it's not Fallout. Maybe they'll have another system that's essentially VATS where you slow down time or do something like that to add kind of the RPG element. But Fallout 76 essentially didn't have VATS. It had auto aiming in real time, and it kind of showed how bad the shooting mechanics are in Fallout. Even though they are a vast improvement from Skyrim, like bow controls, or Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, they still need to really figure out and commit one way or another. Do you want to be a full-fledged RPG? And if so, you have to build mechanics around that. I don't know how they would necessarily do that, but it would be extremely important, as opposed to the flip side, which would be you really have to polish your shooting so it actually feels like a good shooter. And that kind of brings me on to the next point. Again, this is kind of coming off the heels of 76, but I think this more or less applies to a lot of games that Bethesda's made. If you're going to make a shooter, you have to make the AI act like you're playing a shooter. Like, you can't take Skyrim Dragon AI and just bop it in. You can't just take Oblivion Arena AI where they just run at you swinging their club and just plug it in. That works for some enemy types, but it can't be everything. I think Fallout 3, a lot of the encounters you would be in was kind of like a gentleman's like standoff. Like you were just kind of like clumsily stand and face each other and like mass shoot and hope that you would get the kill. That is not gonna cut it. You need enemies that position themselves, take cover, flank, and as it stands, Bethesda games typically do not have the best AI because they haven't needed them until now. The next thing that especially considering the potential scope of the game, where this could be interplanetary, would be to flush out the settlement system in a meaningful way. Not just like make it bigger, but make it meaningful. This is the second iteration of the settlement system, the first being like a Skyrim DLC, basically, apart from other games where you were able to like just own a house but not really do anything to it. And obviously Fallout 4 had a pretty, well, I guess third iteration if you count 76, but the building mechanic has not greatly been changed. I think it has a place. If you look at like No Man's Sky, the settlement system, or the ability to make a base, is actually very much appreciated. Assuming this will be kind of interplanetary at all in any capacity, like you won't be able to seamlessly go between areas, or even if you are, there's like some time between. It'd be nice to have a settlement system that isn't like Fallout 4, where you're. I don't think you need like a group of people to take care of per se. I think they could just keep it to you, just keep it personal, and it would still shine with the same like robust customization tools. But don't pull Preston Garvey weird stuff. I think there's very few open world games that currently are implementing this. I can't really think of any that have this kind of customization. Sans No Man's Sky, that's like kind of the closest thing I can think of that's like big open world game where you customize a base. That's also kind of RPG-esque. I guess No Man's Sky doesn't fit that, but either way, I think that would be something that could distinguish them. The next point, they really need to make a good main quest, like a good one, a decent one. At this point, we are really at the point where all open world games have it, the ones that, you know, make an impact, have at least a decent main quest story-wise, with the one exception for me being Breath of the Wild. But that is so much about the gameplay. Like, that's not about quests. The side quests are not good. That's not what it's about. It's purely about gameplay. I don't really trust Bethesda to make a game so purely about gameplay that it entirely holds the game up. They really need to have a good main quest this time. Not that they have had bad ones, but just they've been very forgettable. And I think they could. They're not held back by the kind of lore of Fallout and the lore of the Elder Scrolls. Not that it holds them back, but I think they can go all out. Like, there's nothing holding them back. They can really kind of craft a good main story. And just like me thinking of The Witcher, Red Dead, Assassin's Creed even, all of these have fairly compelling main quests, and I think Starfield would be good to have one. Definitely not like the 76 quote main quest. Next point I would say is to go nuts with the world. Look at the Outer Worlds as an example. Look at even Rage 2 as an example. You can really, again, it's a new IP. You're unhinged. You can potentially go interplanetary, or at least create a world that's so unique. I think Oblivion's first DLC did a really good job of illustrating where they could realistically go. Some of the Fallout 3 DLCs, like the Swamp DLC, Bar Harbor and Fallout 4, also shows that Bethesda could make some really creative worlds. And even 76 had some pretty cool points in the world to look at. Bethesda still has world-building charm, where they can almost tell a story by just being in the world. You can see a skeleton or some terrain manipulation, some note next to rock, and you can learn so much. And Bethesda really is good at that. That's something that I would say a lot of the developers of open worlds have yet to really master the Bethesda craft of, and I think they should really lean into that. The next one is a little bit finer, more minute. Fix encumberment. That is, to me, an archaic system at this point. I am fine with inventory. There's something about the way Bethesda does it. And ultimately, maybe it's not even fixing encumberment so much as fixing the UI to manage your resources. But as it stands, and I understand the issues in Fallout 76 may be because it's multiplayer, the just general storage catastrophe that is that game. But the encumberment issue, it's just handled so much better in other games. Like, I'm just thinking of like the last 5 open world games I played recently. Like Red Dead, I was never like digging through my inventory, and I know that's a very different game, but it was never the chore that it was in Fallout, just like getting rid of stupid stuff all the time and always just juggling like weirdly variant weight things. Like Dragon's Dogma is probably the closest kind of bad example of over encumberment, where you just have to manage a lot of like really stupid resources. But at least that like lent itself to the combat a little. Like there was a little bit of strategy. It was like, if you make yourself really heavy, you'll have like less stamina during a fight, or you won't be able to run away as well. This is just, it's like an on-off switch. It's just like no grayscale to it. I don't know. They need to do something with that system. Also, just seeing it as a number is like weirdly old, I would say. And then I would say, let's just, for the sake of Bethesda creating dynamic and radiant quests, we should drop the voice acting of the main character. Everyone says, I'm not necessarily convinced, but everybody says that's the whole reason it didn't work in Fallout 4 as well. The quest was because of the main character's voice acting. I'm not entirely convinced, but if that's what it takes, just drop it. Like, I would much rather have the crazy dynamic radiant quests of New Vegas. Not that this is the same team at all, or the same developing team at all, but the idea, even in Fallout 3, they were fairly compelling with what you could do with the dialogue options. So let's, in my opinion, let's cut the voice acting. It's also the way that they stiffly, and I'm gonna get to this probably next, actually, yes, just the way that the technology works now, I would rather just read stuff than watch them poorly struggle through terrible facial animations. Now I think, yeah, the elephant in the room, one of the two, tech upgrades. It's long overdue, and I understand that Bethesda has said time and time again that they are using the same engine that is now like 15 years old to create Starfield, as they used in Fallout 4, in Skyrim, in Fallout 76, in Oblivion, and even in like Morrowind. It's going to be the same engine, and people have been having issues with this engine literally since, I would argue, Oblivion, which is just crazy. And yes, they have made upgrades. I'm not saying that it's the same as it was, but it's rough. They have to do some technical upgrades for a number of reasons. They have to get the character animations up to par with the industry. At this point, it's hard to watch. Or they're just gonna have to have like no facial animation and have some like weird excuse for really bad animations. But then there's the actual like bugginess of the game. Open world games used to be easy to write off bugs as being bugs. That's not the case anymore. This isn't the first open world game. This isn't the first rodeo. When Assassin's Creed Origins launches, there aren't like game-breaking tech problems. When Red Dead 2 comes out, it doesn't corrupt your save after saving 60 times, or just have non-stop random game-breaking, immersion-breaking bugs. When Zelda comes out, yeah, there's some frame rate hitches, but there are not any ludicrously obvious and easy to hit bugs that are just totally immersion breaking. They need to fix it, and I at this point, I don't know if it's engineering or engine stuff. I question the engineering part because mods seem to be able to fix things, but I have never modded a Bethesda game, so maybe I'm gonna hold my reservations. I'm gonna assume that this can be fixed. It needs to be fixed. They can't launch games like they launched 76, although that seems clearly to have been a rush job, which hopefully Starfield is not, considering how much is supposedly on the line. This is the first original IP. 76 was a bomb. There's a lot of anticipation. So, yeah. All right, and last but not least, I would say no multiplayer. It was fun. You know, we tried. It was a good time. There are other games that are good multiplayer games. There are other studios and companies that make good multiplayer games. Bethesda Softworks, the team that develops the Elder Scrolls games and the Fallout games, are not multiplayer design studios. Like, it's not what they are, and that's fine. Other companies will make great multiplayer games. We need to make a great single player game here. It just didn't work, and it's not going to work to try to make Fallout 76 2 in space. That's my thought. And if you are going to make it multiplayer, I think we should be rational about it. We should maybe keep it very playable single player to the point that you could play it totally single player. Have NPCs, have traditional quest lines. Maybe allow a friend to come in and co-op. Almost like Borderlands. But more single player. Heavily emphasized as a single player experience. Those are my Starfield necessities. Things that should hopefully boost it up. This is not, these are just things that, again, constructive criticism, looking from the past, looking at the competition, seeing what this game needs to become the best game that it can be from Bethesda. But that's just me. If you guys like the video, please throw us a like. Let me know down below what you think Starfield needs. And again, we're doing a giveaway. Every 10 subs, we're giving away a Steam code. All you have to do is subscribe. That is all from me today. We'll catch you guys next time.